Absolute value equations. So the generic vertex form of an absolute value equation is y equals a absolute value of x minus h plus k. The numbers in all of those spots tell you a lot of information. So for instance, the number that's in front of the absolute values, which is a, tells you if it's going to be the same shape because a is 1. In other words, there would be no number there. If a is greater than 1, it's a 1.5, 2, 3, 4, what have you, it's going to be a wider v than the parent function. And if a is between 0 and 1, it's going to be a thinner v, so it's going to be going up at a much steeper slope. And if a is negative, it flips over. So now, instead of opening up, it's going to be opening down. The other thing about a is it is the positive and negative slope of both sides of the v. And we'll get into how you graph it using those slopes in a minute. The h, which is with your absolute values, with the x, if it says x plus h, it's going to be moving to the left. If it says x minus h, it's going to be moving to the right. So you need to think opposites, because there's already a minus sign there. So when you have two negatives, negative times a negative is a positive, and all of a sudden it says x plus a number, and it's moving to the left. If it says x minus, then it was already a positive h, it's moving to the right. Then at the end, there's a number being added or subtracted. If that number is being added, you're going to be moving it up. If it's being subtracted, you're going to be moving it down. Now, one of the things that these two numbers give you, h and k, is the vertex. So we are going to be graphing absolute value equations using the vertex and the slope of both sides of the v. So if our equation was y equals 4 times the absolute value of x minus 1 plus 2. Our vertex is going to be a 1, because remember, think opposites, comma, 2. And the slopes on both sides are going to be positive and negative 4. The reason it's positive and negative is because one of the lines is going downhill while one of them is going uphill, and that creates the v. So it's a positive and a negative 4. If my equation was y equals negative 1/2 absolute value of x plus 4 minus 8, my vertex is negative 4, remember opposites, comma, negative 8, and my slopes are a positive and negative 1/2, and we know that it's going to open down. It's going to flip over because of this negative sign right there. So while they are going to be a slope of down 1 over 2, it's going to be down 1, left 2, down 1, right 2, going upside down. So let's graph one. So if this was our equation, y equals 2 absolute value of x minus 2 minus 1, then I know that my vertex is going to be at positive 2 comma negative 1, and my slopes are going to be a positive and negative 2. So first I'm going to find my vertex. So I'm going to plot the point 2 comma negative 1 over 2 down 1. And then my slopes. Now this is a positive 2 in front of my absolute value, so I know my v has to go up. So I'm going to count up 2, right 1, and here's one side of my absolute value. And then for the other side, I'm going to go up 2, left 1 to get the other side of my absolute value. And now I have graphed my absolute value equation. Let's try another one. Y equals negative 1/3 absolute value of x plus 4 plus 3. So my vertex is going to be negative 4 comma 3, opposite, comma, what's being added or subtracted. And my slope is going to be a positive and negative 1/3, but I'm going to be opening down because it has that negative there. So the first thing I'm going to do, find my vertex. So I'm going to go left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 3, 1, 2, 3, and here is my vertex. So now since my slope is 1/3, I'm going to go down 1, right 3 to find my next point, and that gets me one side of my absolute value. And then I'm going to go down 1, left 3 to get the other side of my absolute value equation. So now I have graphed it. Okay, sometimes there is a number in front of x inside of the absolute values. So I'm going to show you what this does. What this does is it changes your vertex and your slope. So for your vertex, what it ends up doing is dividing the x coordinate, and with the slope, it ends up multiplying by whatever a is. So that's how the number in front of x inside of the absolute values will affect your absolute value equation. So let's see if we can figure one of these out. So this first equation, y equals 2 absolute value of 3x minus 4 plus 6. So normally I would say my slope is 4 comma 6, but since there's this 3, I'm going to go 4 over 3 comma 6. And since there is a 3 in front of our x, our slope's not just going to be a 2, it's going to be the positive and negative of 2 times 3, so our slope would be 6. So let's try graphing one of these. So for my vertex of y equals 2 absolute value of 2x minus 3 plus 1, my vertex is going to be a positive 3, but I'm going to divide it by 2 because those numbers are together inside our absolute values, comma 1. And my slopes are going to be a positive and negative of 2 times 2 is 4. So 3 halves is just 1 and a half, so 1.5. So I'm going to go over to 1.5 and up to 1, and I'm going to put my dot. And then I know my v is going to be going uphill, so I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Here's my first dot. And for the other side, up 4, left 1. Here's my other dot, and then there is my v. And that is how you graph an absolute value equation if there is a coefficient of x within the absolute values.